already disinfected it. I disinfected the mic and everything. No, I went by. Well, you weren't looking right because I.
All right, if everybody will take their seat, we'll get started with the meeting. Well, good morning, everybody. It's time for our 9 o'clock Board of County Commissioners meeting here in the Government Services Building. So if you'll stand, and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands.
Now have our moment of silence. We ask God to bless all the citizens of Flagler County, and especially all our men and women in the military around the world standing to watch to maintain our freedom. Here at home, our brave first responders, including police, firemen, and emergency medical personnel, keep us safe, away from danger, and secure in our homes. Thank you. Thank you all for being here, and we'll get on with business. Interestingly enough, today we have no additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda. That's unusual, and that's good. Announcements from the chair. We have some upcoming events, holiday season, and all that. County offices will be closed on Monday, December 23rd, Tuesday the 24th, and Wednesday the 25th in observance of Christmas. We always, as usual, have boards and council vacancies. Flagler County is soliciting registered voters residing in Flagler County for the following citizen volunteer boards and councils. The Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, Contractor Review Board, and Economic Opportunity Advisory Council. Positions are open until filled. Please respond as soon as possible for consideration. For further information or to apply, please visit either www.flaglercounty.org, Advisory Board Vacancies, or contact Maury Davis, mdavis@flaglercounty.org, telephone number 386-313-4094. We have some upcoming commission meetings, workshops, and special meetings. Today, Monday, at 1 o'clock this afternoon, we'll have a workshop in the GSB chambers. And our regular next meeting will be Monday, December 16th, 5 p.m. in the GSB chambers. With that, we have no recognitions, proclamations, and presentations. And so we come right away, quickly this morning, to our first community outreach 30-minute session. This 30-minute time period has been allocated for public comment on any consent agenda item or topic not on the agenda. Each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes to address the commission. Speakers should approach the podium, identify themselves, and please direct comments to the chair, which is me. With that, I'll open it up for community outreach. Please come forward and state your name.
Good morning. My name is Mike.
Mike, just before you get started, the workshop will be in the EOC this afternoon, not here. I believe that's right. Is that right? No, it's not? Well, that's right. I read it was here. So, okay, it's here. It's here. Sorry. We switched that. Okay, Mike, go ahead.
Again, good morning, Chair. I want to congratulate you for your new role as chair, and to congratulate the new vice chair. And the whole commission. As a matter of fact, it's been a fairly tumultuous year. We've had some large issues to deal with, and some of those issues are going into the next year. And the only way we're going to solve those issues is working together as a community, bringing everybody together, forgetting about outside politics, forgetting about all of that. This is Flagler, and we've got to work together to deal with the issues we need to deal with. And I want to tell you that I know that from where I look at and the people I talk to, we want to work together to solve these issues and do it in a way that really brings the community together. So I'm going to implore this commission to urge that kind of thing, to work together as Flagler, to work together as a community, to keep us local, because we need to work that way. We cannot divide ourselves. Dividing ourselves does no good to anybody, and certainly not to the 100 and some thousand citizens of Flagler County that depend upon you to solve our issues. So again, thank you for being here. I myself look forward to a really good upcoming year with the new leadership here. And I know that working together, we will do some real good for this county. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Kathy Ostrino, Flagler County resident. I have quite a bit to go through. As I believe you know, I am associated with Tag V Bear Foundation, a local 501c3 that shares thousands of dollars through the year with children within families facing adversities in Flagler County since 2015, mostly funded through Tag Ventures Real Estate, and we have one fundraiser per year. Thanksgiving morning, I spent my morning scrambling on behalf of the foundation to pull together Thanksgiving meals for 2 group homes for young men and ladies in the Flagler County area. And then I came home to Joe Mullins on my Facebook wall, answering Dan Parati, one of the foundation's largest supporters, referring to me. Joe Mullins writes, "She may need to go cuddle with one of those fuzzy bears they play with." This is one example of the many times Joe mocks the Tag V Bear Foundation. In a post earlier in November, Joe Mullins wrote, "Kathy Ostrino, I have a great idea. Why don't you take those bears that you say you use for a charity and do a fundraiser for Flagler County Sheriff employees?" Joe clearly knows nothing of the function of the charity, but regularly uses the sheriff as an attempt to intimidate me. Joe is right. Rick Staley and I have yet to hug out our issues, as they are not completed yet. But I assure you, I am not intimidated by Rick Staley, and Rick Staley has zero desire for me to be intimidated by him. Rick carries himself as one would expect a grown man would. On Wednesday, November 27th, 8:35 a.m., Joe Mullins posts on his his Facebook page, where he regularly communicates county business, to all of the swamp, locally, up to nationally. We are coming for you. We will hunt you down. We will fight you, and we will win. Trump 2020, Donald J. Trump, great job on massive rally last night in Florida. We are with you in Flagler. Flagler for Trump, Flagler TARS, Flagler GOP. This is a nation under God. I took a screenshot of this post and to my Facebook page and wrote, posted it to my Facebook page and wrote, PSA, I am a big old Trumpkin. I am. However, I do not support division or the threat in this post below. If you or someone you know stands beside Joe Mullins, run from him and them. Vote only for adults of any color hat you choose, but choose an adult. On November 14th, Chelsea Hawk asked Joe why he keeps deleting comments, and then also shares a screenshot where Joe identifies that when he is speaking derogatively about liberals and Democrats, he is in fact addressing those of Flagler County. In the screenshot, Sean and Dara Welk write, is that Democrat bus? I see lots of blue on that bus. Joe Mullins responds, Sean and Dara Welk, all Republicans, but we are getting one.
Thank you, Ted.
My name is Jillian Nell. I'm from Palm Coast, and I'm going to hand my time back to Kathy.
I don't believe that.
But we are getting one.
We can't do that.
We are getting one.
We can't do that, please.
Excuse. Okay,
We have the
sorry.
next
I'm
speaker,
sorry.
but she can speak.
We are getting one. Go on. This has all been delivered to your emails. We are getting one bus, one to bus them
All out of Flagler to your area. So now we can be sure that Joe Mullins, prior to his November 27th threat to locally hunt you down, he is in fact addressing Flagler Democrats. Our sheriff needs to address these cyber threats and abuse of power via the practice of to intimidate against many Flagler County citizens. On September 24th, Joe posted a picture on Facebook showing off his son's new backpack that read, "Keep America Great." Jilly Nell, that would be myself, asked if it was bulletproof. In our day of school shootings and political divide, and since bulletproof backpacks have been out for years, this is not an unusual question. But Jilly was immediately confronted by Rhonda Harper Adams, a Georgia resident, Joe's home state. Then in a private message, Rhonda writes to Jilly, "You are truly disgusting and obviously want tons of attention. Keep commenting on a certain person's post and we both know who. And darling, I will hunt you down. And don't ever again comment about anything with a child involved, you piece of," excuse my language, but I have to quote it, "shit." Let me say part of that again. I will hunt you down. Sound familiar? Joe Mullins, November 27th, we will hunt you down. Immediately, Jilly Nell explains that she meant no harm by her September 24th comment regarding a bulletproof backpack and has done so over and over and over since then. November 14th, Cheryl James complimented Joe Mullins for changing his mind regarding dog chaining. Joe's response in part, "We did decide to chain and muzzle all radical liberals in this county." This same day, Flagler Live does a story, "Should Commissioner Joe Mullins be chained and muzzled?" On November 15th, Joe Mullins removed his ads from Flagler Live, looking a little quid pro quo come to an end, said by a big old Trumpkin. Also on November 15th, Jennifer Anderson Mullins, Joe's wife, files a complaint that Jillian Nell threatened her son. 7 weeks and 3 days after the backpack statement, all the while Jilly is explaining herself, and now Joe Mullins' wife is concerned. I think filing a false complaint to law enforcement is a crime, and this one absolutely needs to be investigated by our sheriff. Please be sure that I am given exact instructions on what needs to be done here and by whom to begin this process against Jennifer Mullins and Joe Mullins in case he coerced her. My time is going to be up.
We'll finish at the end.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Edith Gampins. I'm a resident of Palm Coast. Mr. Mullins, I find your comments on that Facebook page offensive, divisive, and beneath the dignity of the office that you hold. Your comments do not help to bring us together. They're offensive.
Just so you know, you have to speak to me, the chair.
I'm sorry, Mr. Sullivan. His comments are offensive. They're demeaning. They incite violence. And they're really beneath the office that he holds. And they deserve public condemnation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Morning, Dennis McDonald. Mr. Chairman, I came to talk to you this morning about an article that appeared in the News Journal this weekend, and you were prominently quoted in here. A number of questions have come up, so this is kind of like a fact-finding tour I'm doing here before I have any further comment. But the thing that got me interested in coming here today was your comment. We know we had a little burble last year when it looked like the grant was going to come to us, but some other higher priorities kind of got in the way, which are important, Sullivan explained. So would I be correct in assuming that that little burble was the Sheriff's Department? It was okay, all right.
Go ahead and finish.
All right. So we spent $9 million on, but then we found out this year we're going to end up having to spend $30 million on. So consequently, the $21 million spread was of concern, and that was the little burble. So that kind of leads me into the real reason I'm here. I'm here to ask you, Mr. Chairman, to get me the information that was supplied to all you gentlemen that was your measurement for this medical nexus. This is a multi-million-dollar exposure to the taxpayer, okay? And I certainly would like to see, I can't find any measurement at all. I have talked to or sent an email to Mr. London, who's certainly a very qualified business guy for the newspaper, who has done a great job here for years. I figured if anybody had it, he would. He never responded, and so I would assume that he doesn't have it. So I figured I'd take the opportunity to come here and ask for whatever type of measurement process this board is using to launch us into a multi-million-dollar, exposure to the taxpayers, and I don't think that that's unreasonable to ask that, especially since you're all lining up behind the mayor, and I can't find anything that the city has. So this is, it's like shadow boxing here. So, Mr. Chairman, if you could, I would appreciate all that those facts and that you use to make that assessment, and I'll come back and talk to you after I get it. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Next. Any additional comments? I guess at this point, we'll just take care of the community outreach, some of the questions. I'll give my answer, and then I would ask our county administrator to follow up, or our lawyer, Mr. Adid, to follow up on what I say if I don't say the correct thing. As far as the comments that one of the other commissioners, Commissioner Mullins, has made, I'm not going to allow the board to discuss that directly. I consider it mostly a private matter. This board will never agree to any form of census of keeping information from the public or any type of controlling information. However, we always want to use good language and take into consideration that people may have differing views. But as far as the board goes, unless the rest of the board differs with me, I'm just not going to allow us to discuss that here at the board, because I consider it a private matter. But that's kind of where I stand on that. If anybody, the other board members want to discuss that, they can, but I really do not want to bring that up here on the board. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Well,
No, I just said
oh,
no
okay.
comment.
As far as the last comments, my comment in the newspaper, I think that was accurate, what I said. The reason I use the word burble is because it was just a momentary, it was a one-year pause concerning the library. We were talking about funding for the library, and we talked to our legislators on that before it happened, and we intend to go on with that program this year, provided the grant comes back. And as far as the medical nexus, I assured us, if you were at the meeting, our meeting prior to the legislative priorities, that the county, our budget will not be impacted at all by the medical nexus program. So there is no financial impact on the county. Now, that doesn't mean there may be financial impacts in the other governments in the county, but that's my understanding. So, Mr. Cameron, did you have any other comments on that?
There would be no budgetary impacts here. There are impacts for the facility, and I believe that those are available. I think that the M-Plan multiplier was used to determine what the positive impacts would be. I can research that and get back to Mr. McDonald with the information he's been seeking.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
I want to say this to Mike. I certainly hear what you say, and I agree 100%. We've had dialogue and talked and communicated, and you certainly have made it a point to say that some of these individuals speaking do not represent you guys, and they're kind of in their own way. I am going to always exercise my First Amendment right. I don't try to take it from anyone. I just want it to be fair. I want it to be a situation to where both sides of the story are told, and I damn sure don't want to be intimidated by anyone. And there's a lot of dialogue that's not being said that was done towards either people on my Facebook not by you guys and not by anybody that certainly represented the Democratic Party, but a lot of dialogue and intimidation, and that's not going to be tolerated. I'm not going to have a bully come onto my page and start saying stuff like that. You never have. I do look forward to us sitting down and talking. It's going to be the next 12 months is going to be very trying for our country. But I will say this, I have always, my whole life, respected the president that has been in charge, whether it be Democrat, whether it be Republican. I have always, and I feel very strongly that's something that our nation should do. I don't think socialism is not something I preach or like. No, okay.
That's it. I asked that we not further discuss it, okay. And because we're not, it's not an issue that I want the board to get involved in. Now, if other than yourself, do any of the other board members feel that there's any reason to continue that discussion?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Okay, so that completes that part of the agenda. We'll now go on to the consent agenda, and I'll ask, none of the speakers asked to remove anything from the consent agenda, so I'll go back to the board, starting with Mr. Erickson. Do you have any items you'd like to pull?
Just a couple brief questions on number 7F.
Right?
I have none.
I have none.
None? Okay.
No.
For Mullins. And
7H.
7H. Okay, and I have none.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the consent agenda with the exception of paragraph 7F and 7H.
Second?
Second.
Having said that, I'll now, if there's any further discussion as part of the board, if not, I'll bring it to a vote, back to the chair, to the board for a vote. All those in favor of the consent agenda as described, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the consent agenda with the exceptions of 7F and 7H is approved. With that, we'll go back to 7F, and I believe that was Mr. Erickson.
Erickson. I just had a couple little questions. This is that particular group that we have recognized the financial hardship that the whole group was doing in comparison to other drivers and stuff in the area, and we passed something to be able to give them a salary increase. Is this new person going to be brought in at the new salary, or are they going to have to work a short period of time before they get transversed to it, et cetera?
My understanding is that these 6 positions, and Ms. Petito is here in case I'm in error, these 6 positions are the result of the grant that we got to increase services, particularly for dialysis, and furthermore, that they would be brought in at the new rate.
Okay. Do we need additional vehicles to handle those wheelchair people, or et cetera, for the dialysis, or?
I believe that we've just added to the schedule and that the existing vehicles will suffice. We're bringing a couple more online anyway.
Well, I'm sure they put quite a few hundreds of thousands of miles on them over a month or a year's period of time. I remember, they make quite a visit to Chet's garage down there.
They do get fully depreciated.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any other comments concerning the item 7F?
Recommend approval.
Second.
And without any further comment, all those in favor signify by saying yes to that motion.
Aye.
Aye.
All those against? Motion carries unanimously. We'll go down to item 7H. And
that was me, Mr. Chair. Thanks. Amy, the only thing I didn't see in the write-up was there a discussion of this item at TDC, with the committee?
This was more or less discussed in a strategic planning session
Okay.
under the operational excellence pillar, where we had to look of where we would outsource. And essentially what this is, as you know, we haven't hired my replacement. So this vendor will be helping with parts of the job that I used to have for digital media.
Okay. Other than that, Mr. Chair, I didn't have any other questions. I just wanted a clarification on that, so.
Does the public have any comments on this item? We haven't discussed it further. Seeing none, you have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to approve item 7H.
Second.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion favoring item 7H, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chair, on item 7F, the additional employees for general services, there was no call for public comment. The vote was taken, but there was no call for public comment. So what I'd ask you to do is to reopen 7F and ask for public comment and determine whether your action still stands.
Okay. I'm reopening item 7F in case that's the name of that item is consideration approval to add 6 full-time equivalent transportation driver positions within the General Services Department. Anybody from the public who wish to comment on that, they can come forward. Seeing none, motion to reconsider.
I still recommend approval.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carries.
Sorry, aye, sir.
Carries unanimously. We'll go on then on to business. The consent agenda is approved. The items we pulled have been approved. Item 8 is general business. Today we have none. Public hearings, none. And so we'll now go to additional reports and comments, first by our county administrator who will report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of items. Number one is that we just finished a very successful food drive within the GSB services, and we came in second in the contest, raised a large amount of food for the underserved community. Secondly, I was informed by email that Fireflight will be down for December and possibly a little bit of January. It is a normal suspension of activities for maintenance. The pilots' schedules have been adjusted to accommodate that. And next item is that you may have noticed, if you have been on the second floor of the GSB building, there is a door decoration contest on, which has been fully embraced by the staff. I'm pretty amazed at some of the stuff that they've done. It's a great time of the year to do that. It gets people involved with each other and with the spirit of the season. The last thing I'd like to do is to clear up one point on the financial impact of the potential medical facility, and that's just to keep down any potential confusion. There have been discussions about that facility being built on a piece of property presently owned by the county in the town center. Those discussions do revolve essentially around an agreement with Palm Coast to purchase those by accepting our liability on connection fees to a sewer system should they gain control of that facility. Those discussions are ongoing, and when they reach a point where they're ripe for discussion with this board, they will be brought forward here. But there is no direct impact. I didn't want that to be confused as a financial impact to the county, because it's actually a separate discussion from the medical center. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Cameron. Mr. Hadid?
Mr. Chairman.
No report.
What?
I pushed my button.
Go ahead, Mr. Hadid.
No report.
Mr. Hanson?
Mr. Cameron, on the helicopter issue, so we don't have any ability, so that for at least December and part of January, we'll not have a helicopter available. Is that what I understand?
I do have Chief Petito here. He can address the measures that he has taken to provide service where it would be needed.
Okay. That was my question. Hi, Chief.
Good morning, Don Petito, Flagler County Fire Chief. This is a normal occurrence. Every year we down a helicopter to do all the big maintenance on it, and we have agreements with Trauma One out of St. Augustine and then Air One out of Volusia County, so that that's our first call when we need a helicopter.
That was my question.
Right. As far as brush fire is concerned, we're not really worried about it at this time of the year.
Yeah.
So we're in good shape with that.
Okay. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
With that, now I'll come back to the commission. These are for any action items the commissioners may want to bring up at this point. Mr. Erickson?
None.
None.
Mullins? Mr. O'Brien?
None, sir.
Okay, with that, we have our next session of community outreach. This 30-minute time period has been allocated for public comment for items not on the agenda. Speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes to address the commission. Speakers should approach the podium, identify themselves, and direct comments to the chair. Thank you.
Kathy Ostrino, Flagler County resident, continuing. Many supporting documents are arriving in your emails and the sheriff's emails this morning. Though there has been much more over this year, so myself and others are still gathering. Other Joe Mullins documented words shared in your email. To Barbara Bernard Williamson, I understand certain illnesses require medication that can cause this. About Barbara, I heard she is being Baker acted. This perfect creature. Elizabeth Warren is on crack. To Mark Woods, no princess, but they will not allow negative liberals inside. You're funny, princess. About Chelsea Hawk, Cheeseburger Chelsea is wrong. Joe later in the thread confirms he was referring to her choice of employment by saying, that's why even you will find benefit from the jobs we are bringing. I thought you were in the middle of the milkshake line now. To Jane Gentile-Yude, if I put you on payroll, would you please shut your bitter mouth? You have really proven to be a nasty old person. To our liberal friends and neighbors, he already identified earlier in the month that he is speaking to those of Flagler County. We don't have to tolerate someone bullying a fellow conservative, but they do. Liberal clowns. In your email, you will find samples of myself back in January when Joe had me blocked from his Facebook page, where he communicates county concerns. As well, you will find discussions of others blocked, even just 2 weeks ago. Also, you'll see conversation where clearly Joe deleted his own comments, which I think is illegal. I have much more evidence of Joe deleting his comments I will forward upon request. Due to time, obviously, I can't go through everything, but this is what I am here to request. One, an investigation of Mr. and Mrs. Mullins' false complaint against Jilly Nell. When this Board of County Commissioners when is this Board of County Commissioners going to censure Joe Mullins? May I suggest that you take these concerns to our county attorney, as you do have the ability, and silence is consent. 3, I would like to know if there's a deal with Flagler County Sheriff's Office and Pastor Salerno, a friend to Joe Mullins, that allows open doors reentry and recovery, some kind of special access to inmates that other recovery centers do not allow. See documents in your email. I would like to know who paid for each ticket to the recent attended Gators game by Joe Mullins, David Sullivan, Jerry Cameron, and Mrs. Cameron. I would also like to see proof of that payment. See documents in your email. I would like to see proof of payment to the clients of Open Doors Reentry and Recovery for their work on Joe Mullins' campaign. That is Proof that the clients who did the work received payment for the work. See documents in your email. I would like, one moment, please.
Just recognize yourself again.
Julie Nell, Palm Coast. I would like to see proof of Joe Mullins' Bunnell residency from the day he filed campaign to the present day by way of utility, water, and electricity bills showing usage at both the Bunnell home and his Georgia home. I would like to see evidence of Joe Mullins being the owner of Hibachi Bar and Grill, as well as several Zaxby's in Oklahoma employing 120 individuals. See documents in your emails. I would like my email from January 2019 answered showing that as of that date, Joe Mullins himself did have a general contractor's license in the state of Florida, as he shared he did in a public recorded meeting. Email again with this package. If any of my requests are beyond your capacity, I would like clear and defined instruction as to how to access all of this information and proof, if you don't mind. Thank you, Kathy Ostrina.
Okay, thank you.
I would also like to carry on with my time, if you don't mind. I would actually like to address that if you go onto Flagler County site, there are social media laws that are in there. These laws cover employees and elected officials, administrators, etc., etc. Within these laws, it's stated exactly what is allowed and what is not allowed by county commissioners and use of their Facebook, their personal Facebooks, which, if, by the way, if Mr. Mullins puts any county business on what he calls his private account, personal account, it's no longer a personal account because he's doing the work as a commissioner. So there is a list of things that are actually not allowed within those laws. So this is not a personal thing. This is actually going with the laws of Flagler County. I would like to know who is overseeing that, because if there is any violation of these laws, there's supposed to be someone that oversees that. I would like to know who it is that oversees those laws. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional, I think the mic goes back over to, any additional public comment? This is your time.
Mr. Chairman, Dennis McDonald. I just wanted to come back to a comment that you made when you were responding before. And then I just wanted to remind all five of you that the taxpayers have one wallet, okay? And when I hear responses from you, it's like, well, that's not the county, that's the city, or that's Flagler Beach, or that's someplace else. We all live here. We all have one wallet, unless you guys carry two or three around with you and pay different amounts out of each one for the municipality that you live in. So I wanted you to be conscious of what you're actually doing with this. And you know, there's results in what you actually do here, but don't have direct response for the actual monies that you're approving. And if I could give you an illustration of that, which immediately comes to mind, it's this. 288 units in City Center right now. Now, if you drive through City Center, as we all have, and I certainly had a lot of feedback from people that are pretty horrified in what's going on down there, okay, that I had somebody tell me the other day that we're building a new little Newark, it looked like to them. Okay, but the issue is, you're the guys who got the ball rolling on that. This year earlier, when the Volusia County Housing Authority came to you to ask permission to float the bonds to build that project, you guys did it. Now, you didn't approve the money, okay? It's going to come from the bonds, but you have a hand in all of this, and it's going to have a direct effect on us, on everything that we do here. And it's just, we're bumping up against our limit on how much we can bond in this county, and you've got a real problem. You need to be conscious of that before you go pouring more sand on the beach down on the barrier island. So I just, you know, your comment, Mr. Chairman, brought that to mind. Thank you.
Additional public want to address the board? Okay, last chance. All right, that completes the second section of community outreach. I have no additional comments on, we already kind of made our comments, and at this point, I have no additional, unless the county administrator, our lawyer, wanted to comment on those last public comments.
The only thing I would like to comment on is that I do have a copy for my records of the check along with the faces of the tickets that I purchased from Joe Mullins. I'll turn those over to the county attorney. That will make them subject to public records request.
And I have the same thing for the I have the cancel check on that. So, but I'm not trying to one up anybody on that. Just that's the fact. Anything else?
I've heard that argument before about that this is a county Facebook page that Mr. Mullins has, and it is not. The county does not sponsor, curate, finance, review, comment on, have anything to do with any of the Facebook pages or other personal activities of the county commissioners. Now, it is true that by discussing county business on his Facebook page that he maintains personally, he may have other obligations of the law. The only requirement, and I pointed this out in an email to Ms. Jane Gentile-Yude, who posed the same question, and that is he is not permitted to represent that he is presenting the official county Facebook. He is permitted to talk about public matters on his Facebook, just as commissioners may with their personal email accounts talk about personal matters. There are public matters, but there are consequences that flow from that choice that is made by the commissioner. It does not violate any rule of the county, again, provided that there's no representation that it is the official county position.
Thank you. All right, with that, we'll complete with commission reports and comments. Mr. Erickson?
I have none.
I have none.
Hanson, Mullins?
I've got two. I want to kind of talk about, one of them is an event I attended at Hall Creek. It was a 4-H event, a little Christmas party, and they have a little girl that's a member of 4-H who very just adorable kids. She is dealing with some health issues. Her family's rallying around, and they had a little fundraiser. And I was just very impressed by how hard they work. Pat Cody oversees them. It's big with our West County and the agricultural impact that they have. But these kids are really learning what community is, working together, just seeing how, in my opinion, how godly they're acting towards each other. And I'm just really impressed with them and wanted to point out, even the community center, she makes sure they're cleaning it. They clean up after they're done. And the place is probably one of our cleanest community centers I've seen. But these kids have really done a wonderful job. And at some point, I'd probably love to have them come in and us recognize them or something, because they are, it reminds me of just the way school used to be. They were working together and doing some wonderful things. Also, in addition, I took a little family time and was exploring. I got to commend this, because I was exploring the Bahamas, and I ran up on the actual station that is getting the truck that we decided to donate, and talked to them and interacted with them. I'm impressed by how this county has rallied together to help, and the state got involved, and we sent something. They had all of their fire trucks but one, and that one is barely running, wiped out. The flood, the water came in, flooded the trucks. They were actually using wave runners to get around. I do want to say that publicly the tourism is open. there are people going there. This mainly was affected are their homes, impacted were their homes and houses. And it's just incredible seeing that. That could have been us so easily, but they were emotionally in tears about the fire truck and about the gift because it really meant a lot to them. And just seeing another country rally together to help them, especially one so far away yet so close. But it actually has some dialogue about, the video was seen by a national news network, and they're actually looking at picking up the story through the Bahamas about it. So we may have some major attention there, but it's very exciting, and I want to commend the fire department. I want to commend the county management and just everyone. These guys, if you saw their faces and saw the reaction on them, how impressive it is. So I just want to say that on the positive way. And, you know, hearing some of the media stuff, it's probably time to look at some of this media stuff a little closer and how we go about it and what we do qualifying it. And that's something I think maybe in the future we need to look at. But I'll just end it with there and move on. But that's all I've got, and I just want to thank you guys again.
Brian?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Two things. One, a lot of this discussion, I felt like I walked in the middle of a movie, right in the middle, and didn't know what the heck was going on. So I just want to say there's also an opinion out there that all of this mishigash, that's a Yiddish term, is just what it is. It's nonsense. And it just reinforces to me why so many normal people don't participate in social media, because it's just nonsense. So I just wanted to say that. It's frustrating that we have to waste a lot of time. The other thing I wanted to say was last week we had, or week before, I guess, we had our intergovernmental meeting with a lot of our elected officials from around the county to talk about our community health outcomes. And I just wanted to thank everyone that participated. I thought we had some good discussion. Most of it was around mental health issues and things we need to get working on. But it was a good dialogue to start. And, you know, one of the outgrowths of our focus on this is, like this week, we're going to have a meeting with DCF because money flows from DCF down to Lutheran, I believe it's health services, social services, and then to Stuart Marchman, and then, you know, down to the different organizations. So we're trying to shine the light on that to hold them more accountable as to what money arrives in Flagler County and support that we get. So if that's a start of a better, an increased focus on that and improved outcomes, I'm all for that. And again, I appreciate all of the elected officials that took time out of their busy schedule to come and participate, and hopefully we can do it again in the future. So just want to say thank you about that, and thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all I had.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I go a little bit further on what Donald said? Yeah, one of the issues they talked about, I was really interested in, that was what the fire chief of Palm Coast had said they're doing for their own employees now to handle some of this extra stress and stuff that they get involved with in their jobs. And it seemed to me that they had a pretty good program, excellent program going that was something for both fire and the sheriff's office would maybe even benefit from it, and that was the ability to, these people that have seen all these trauma things, et cetera, you know, I mean, how many car accidents can you go up to on the interstate and you got to pull a dead body out of there? That's got to have an effect on one of our employees. And I mean, there is some sort of a program that I'd like to see us talk. And I see Donald, there he is. Okay. Okay.
Don Petito, Flagler County Fire Chief. We do have a program in place. It's called, we call it CISM, but it's Critical Incident Stress Management. And we have a team made up of Flagler County Fire Rescue, Palm Coast Fire Rescue. There are psychiatrists, mental health professionals on the team, and we partner with Volusia County on that. And anytime we have an incident that has a lot of death or a lot of mental stress on the crews, they're first intervened by the SISM team, and if they need further help, we go through our EAP program. So we do offer the same things as that you're speaking of.
That's great. I'm glad I brought it up because you already got it done.
Yeah, we've had
Thank you.
we've had it going about 2 years now, and that team actually deploys out to the scene to make sure that they see what everybody else seen, so that they can talk about what happened.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trent. Just for my closing comments, I did attend the groundbreaking for a thing called the CBOC, which is the VA clinic in St. Johns County we've been trying to get for about the last 5 years. It will support Flagler County, especially the northern part of our county for our veterans, and it is another phase of our medical improvements that we're making in the area, and that one, of course, is done by the VA. Governor DeSantis was there to do the groundbreaking, and he was instrumental in making sure that project did get funded. I also thought it's good to mention again that our new county judge was sworn in a nice ceremony last Friday at the Channel Side, and I think that'd be a tremendous improvement in the ability to speed up our judicial cases at the courthouse. And I mentioned again, we have a workshop at 1 p.m. back here in this location. And with that, I'll ask for a
Let's move to adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned.